Hi, everyone. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa. And today we want to talk about a possible impending, very possible incoming crash for Wall Street and some signs that you can look for, some things you can do to protect your family. So we'll be right back after this. Give us a like and share this video. Hi, Amy. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, Lisa. How are you?
Good, very good. Good to see you.
I know.
There is all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Last night I saw Jack, and I always mispronounce his name, but Becky or I don't know how you pronounce his name, tweeting this very odd, it wasn't a swan by any means, but it was some kind of black little bird swimming around. And I said, "Oh, are you hinting around about a black swan event?" And then there was this guy on Telegram that I follow called Whiplash that was posting about just that thing, talking about an incoming
Event.
And kind of that it's all set up to go down and why that would happen. And that it's part of the plan of getting people transferred over to that CBDC, that then they'll be made whole with their CBDC, which is what I've been thinking would have happened is there'll be some kind of hack or something. And then they'll tell everybody, oh, don't worry, we'll make you whole, download this app. And now here's your CBDC. And that's exactly how they were describing this on this. They're talking about a project through Stellar and calling it some Genesis project. And
now you're talking about stellar lumens?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yeah. They were using, there's all kinds of, yeah.
Okay.
They're like, is this what is the proof that we need to solidify our conviction? Stellar's blockchain appears to serve as the Federal Reserve's. And then there's a means of cross-border settlement. Jerome Powell gave a speech about opening New York Innovation Center and their partnership with BIS Innovation. See the link below. Here's a link.
Right.
So on the .gov website, BIS Innovation has been working on Project Genesis, which is a prototype for green bond tokenization by the Liberty Consortium. They have a link below, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you're lazy and don't want to read it, just read the index bullet point. Okay. Stellar CEO Daniel Dixon is testifying at this week's committee hearing on future digital currencies. If these thoughts aren't lining up for you, then blah, blah, blah.
Well, I guess they could put the CBDC on the Stellar blockchain. Without using stellar lumens. I'm thinking,
I don't know.
But the whole point is, Lisa, is yes, yes, and yes. They are looking. Oh my God, this is such a big topic, you guys. Lisa sent me, our minds are always so in sync because I have been obsessed lately with the state of our financial plumbing. And I contend, and in my gut, that the Black Swan event will be a implosion in the debt market. So for your audience, you guys are so savvy, Lisa's audience, but my fear, and this is just a little backfill before we get to the Black Swan that Lisa's talking about, or potential Black Swan, this collapse of the system, in my opinion. This is my opinion. And believe me, none of us are going to be right and none of us are going to be really wrong.
Or it wouldn't be a black swan. That's the whole point of it, is that no one will know what's coming or what it is. Yeah.
Exactly. So here's the deal, you guys. Because we are a debt-based global system, I mean, everybody swipes a card. When our food is moved around, when gas is moved, the truckers are advanced money on credit lines. Credit is the foundation of the whole global financial system. And because now that is so laden with debt, more so than any other time in the history of the world, we're in uncharted waters. I don't care what anyone tells you. Oh, I lived through this. I lived through that. I too have lived through a lot of implosions at my age. But here's the deal. We never had the amount of debt in the system like we do right now. So I lose sleep at night about this, you guys, and I study it and study it. This is why. All my life, my friends and my loved ones thought that finance was separate, like the stock market, like money. Like, I'm not interested in that. As long as I have my dollar bill and I can pay and I get my paycheck and it goes in the bank, I'm okay. Well, right now, everything is converging. Everything is converging. And the debt implosion, in my opinion, is going to start this house of cards collapsing. And when I say collapse, I mean a locking up of the debt market. And how I see this going is, it's not an if, you guys, at this point. Like a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, I thought, maybe we can navigate this. It's not an if. It is a when. And I promise you, it will be biblical. And my fear, and the reason, if you guys can like and subscribe this video, and please God, keep it up on YouTube. I want so much to get the word out, because the bell curve of Americans are not taught about our financial system, because the plan was never to educate us about that. They want to educate us about other things, but not that. And they don't educate us, they indoctrinate us. Mm-hmm. So when this debt market, it's going to start in the debt market. It's not going to start with stock market crash, but we're going to get there in a minute, because it's going to manifest in a stock market crash. Lisa, can you pull up CNBC, the website CNBC? Because I want to show your viewers and anybody watching this is a diagnostics tool that even if you have no money in the stock market, you are not interested at all about money or finances. When the debt market goes off, it will affect every single person on the planet Earth, with the exception of maybe some Aborigine groups living deep in the, thank you, Lisa, deep in the forest of, the Amazon. Now, Lisa, if you go up to, see above the green box where it says bonds, click on bonds to the left.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Above
the green bonds?
Yeah, it'll say bonds. And you click on the bonds.
I don't see bonds anywhere. It says like DJ.
Let me pull it up real quick on
IA and S&P, NASDAQ.
Give me one quick.
Russ, 2K.
I can get to this. Give me a sec. I have a short.
Sorry, I know nothing about bonds. And
that's all right.
Stocks.
This is as good of a time as any to start. Because if you guys only walk away from this video with one thing, this is the thing I want you to see. Okay, so Lisa, I've got the same picture that you do. Okay. Right above the green box to your far left, it says DJIA.
Yeah.
See where it says US, Asia, EU.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you meant in the green boxes. I apologize.
Right. Okay. So click on bonds.
Gotcha.
Okay. This is good, because if you're asking questions, viewers are going to be asking. Now, when you click on bonds, see where it says the US 10-year, the first one on the left. The first box, the first green box, and it says 2.94?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's stop right here, you guys. This right here is the single most important information if you don't have any money in the stock market, you don't care about it, you just want to live your life like a normal person, this is like the heart monitor on a patient that's going into cardiac arrest. And the reason why, and I'm going to give a very simple explanation. There are people, everybody from George Gammon to Mineko 64 to Gregory Mannarino, other economists who go in. You can get a detailed explanation as to why this is so important. But for sake of this show, this 10-year yield is where the safe money historically for the past 100 years has gone to park their money when things get risky. The US government provides a yield for that, and it's backed by the bonds are backed by the United States government, the Treasury, and the might of the military industrial complex. It's always considered a safe haven play. Now, when these bond yields rise, that means money's coming out of that market, which means people are getting nervous. The problem is this bond market here is the largest pool of money in the world. There is more global money, holding US 10-year Treasury bonds than any other asset class. Gold, silver, crypto, rubles, everything. It's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars right here in this 10-year yield. Now, it has been below 1% for years. What is happening now is because of the rising interest rate, it's getting it's getting harder and harder for the U.S. government to meet these bond yields. And this is where, if you want to dig into the plumbing of it, there's people that explain it a lot better than I do. But what I want you guys to know, and this is the most important thing you could know, people think that when the black swan comes, Lisa, and you're right, there will be a black swan. I have my ideas on what I think it'll be. But this right here is going to be your indicator. This is not a crash indicator. It's like if you're looking at an EEG and someone's having a heart monitor and they're monitoring their heart or their blood pressure or some other diagnostic. When this starts to rise rapidly, now let me explain this. It's going to go over 3% probably in the next week or two. It could bob up and down a little bit. But if you log on, I check this before I go to bed at night, when I wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and when I first wake up in the morning. It's the first thing I look at outside of crypto. If we start to see this spike, okay, I mean rapid, it's not going up because it's going to go up, but it's the pace at which it goes up. When you see this 10-year yield, like if you see a big jump in one day, then the next day another big jump, then it's over 4, then it's over 5. That means, you guys, that the patient is flatlining. That means that the plumbing of the financial system is cracking and breaking, which brings us, Lisa, into the black swan. And there's so much conversation. I mean, we could have 3 shows on this alone. And by the way, it's all conjecture because it hasn't happened yet. And the reason I wanted to bring this to your guys' attention is for those people that are, and this is most people don't understand the bond market. It's very complicated. And the derivatives are buried in here. It is a mess of the first order. When this thing blows, it's going to be biblical, and it's going to cause the stock market to come down. It's going to cause a lockup in the credit markets, which could mean we have the Hunger Games draconian situation where one morning you wake up, your ATM card doesn't work, you log on to your bank website, you can't get to your website, or maybe there's no electricity, or it's spotty in your area. This is when we're going to start to see the Mad Max scenario. But
so I think they have already been planning on this because we've had American Express for years and years and years.
Okay.
And we've always had, you pay off, you use your American Express and then you pay the full amount at the end of the month.
Right.
So there's no limit on your American Express. Like we bought cars with our American Express.
Right.
all of a sudden we have limits on our American Express. And all of a sudden our credit cards are like, they're lowering if you don't use your full limit amount or whatever. You have, they're like lowering our credit amounts on our credit cards.
Right.
Because during the vid, we didn't spend that much or whatever. And I'm like, we pay our credit card off every month. Why would you be lowering my credit score? Should be going up. You should be extending my credit.
Sure.
So, and I've heard this from other people too, that they're taking away the credit. And I think that's because they know this is coming.
I agree
and
with
they
you.
don't want to get stuck with this, with everybody, running up their credit cards or whatever when this all hits.
Right. And it will result in a liquidity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right, Lisa, absolutely. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But so the 10-year yield will be the first thing to spike. Then you're going to start to see a crash in the stock market. And then we're going to have a big deflationary spike. And now I kind of wanted to lead into this because I didn't want to go to this first. And then you guys are sitting there going, oh, this is really scary, but how will I know? The timing on this is, I think all of us, especially Lisa, your audience, listen, I've been waiting for 10 years, but I've really been waiting for 7 years. I never thought we'd make it this far. I didn't think we would. We're all frustrated with, the rigging of the gold and silver markets, what's going on with the rigging with certain cryptos and the cryptocurrency. I mean, all of us, our patience is waning thing, but I do think we're close to the event. Now, this article here is very interesting, and I don't know, Lisa, if you want to leave a link, because this talks about the rising interest rates on behalf of the Fed and what it's going to do to the stock market. This is a very interesting article. And the reason why it's really important, you guys, is that we've had a 25 basis point increase. That's like an ant going up its elephant leg with rape on its mind. Because if inflation's running, Shadow Stats, John Williams Shadow Stats has it at about 16%. We'd have to raise the interest rates above that to begin to even deal with our inflation. We're talking about tiny interest rates. But here's the deal. The Fed is throwing out, 50 basis points next month. There's all kinds of conjecture. Here is the fact of the matter. When interest rates rise, the stock market goes down. That's historical. The last time we had a rise was in 2018. And in December of 2018, on Christmas Eve, the Dow fell almost, I think, 2,000 or 1,000 points or something, just on the hint there could be an interest rate rise. This is where it gets really tricky, you guys. There's two schools of thought. One school of thought says the Fed is going to tighten, which means they're going to stop buying mortgage-backed securities and all these bonds to keep the stock market and everything afloat, which is what they've been doing. And they're going to raise interest rates, which is going to bring the housing market down and the stock market down, which is going to impact all of us,
Right.
whether you own stocks or not.
Right.
Because someone could say, well, I don't own stocks, so why does it affect me? Well, you might be employed by someone whose business is radically affected by their ability to finance their company because they're borrowing against their stock portfolio. All of us now, you guys, with the internet, we're all connected in a way that we never were before. And that's why I'm not a believer in before it happened like this. Because before doesn't matter, because we never had this dynamic before. We never had this global economy with the plumbing. And you know who could probably, Lisa, really weigh in on this is Reggie Middleton, because I suspect was originally conceived to help absorb when the derivative market blows. Veritasium, I suspect, I don't know for sure, was set up to absorb that and redistribute it to save the system from imploding. And then the SEC got wind of that and they want to have it in their back pocket. And that is one of the reasons I believe, I'm not sure, but I think he's an expert on this. I am not an expert. Yeah. I've just been studying it because all of us are going to be affected. And when it comes, you guys, it's going to be so biblical. So we have to know what to look for and when to look for it. So this black swan, Lisa, what do you think? Like, what kind of thing could you see being a financial or political black swan that could potentially,
I think they're already setting it up. I mean, they're talking about, the Russia hacks, and they had, was it the DOD? I think it was the DOD, the Department of Defense guy was on, and they were asking him, the press was asking him about, how many hacks, and he's like, oh, we get hacked every day. That's not even an issue, or that happens all the time, and so they're already kind of setting it up. They're talking about Elon's Starlink is set up or almost set up to cover the whole world at this point. One of my friends is using it and tied into it in Texas right now using Elon's Starlink. So there's pieces that are in place. Everything's kind of ready to go, and it depends on who you believe's in charge, the good guys or the bad guys,
right,
and how this is going to go down.
Well, and that's actually it, Lisa, because here's where it gets, and I'm going to try to keep my
yeah, you're going to be very good.
PG rated show here. Okay, how can I say this? Everything, I have to be careful not to slander the Federal Reserve, and I'm not going to do it, but everything that comes out of their mouth is not truthful and accurate. And you can go to the Fed website and you can see that they're still buying tons of mortgage-backed securities and they're buying up the market, but they're saying they're tightening. So there's a contradiction right there. So that's a fact. But here's the deal. I contend that everything that's coming out of their mouth, how can I say this, it's not in
our best interest.
And it's not what it's, in other words, if they say one thing, you go in the other direction. I'm trying not to accuse them of lying because I don't want to go there, but I don't believe 1 ounce of what they're saying about this tightening. I think there is so much going on behind the scenes. Now, there's one group of thought, of school of thought that say that they're going to lose control or they've already lost control. Mm-hmm. And when that 10-year spikes, that's going to be the evidence that the Fed's lost control.
Now, on my interview with Jim Willie, that's on my Patreon for patrons to watch, he said that basically that the good guys kind of have the way that it's set up is that they're working with them, and they had this plan to work with them, and then the Fed works with them and they think they're going to be in control, and it's kind of like a Trojan horse kind of situation. Okay. And by the time they get to the other side, they go, well, wait a minute, you said we'd be in control of it. But it's too late, and it's like it's already done, and they're like, yeah, you being in control of your stuff,
right?
But you don't get to touch my stuff. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like it's already built, and now it's too late. You're already trapped, and you wanted to do this, but it's transparent. That kind of
thought. Well, this is where
Jim says it much more clear and a lot more detail on the video. But And I could see that happening. That's kind of that 5D chess kind of move,
Right.
that
Right.
you know who uses,
Yes.
or has been known to use. So,
Well, exactly. And see, here's the deal, you guys, this is so fascinating. I mean, if you can avoid from losing your mind about this
right.
and the anxiety level, I mean, honestly, I'm preaching to the choir. Your audience knows this. You've got to have some cash at home, preferably small bills so you can barter junk silver, regular silver, tons of brass, several
Food.
guns, food. They're saying now 2 years. I mean, we should all be so lucky to have two. I mean, who even has the space to put 2 years of food in? But, and then of course, your Lisa, your lovely mom has got her garden. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, she's so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that this is so fascinating because this is history, you guys. This is so historical, and in my opinion, and now I'm just going to say it. I can't. I think the Federal Reserve is a crime scene of the first order. I think this is planned. I think it's been planned for over 100 years. And I think the plan is to bring in a black swan event, put the name of Russia, Ukraine on it. It's going to be Putin's
Whoever
fault.
they're going to
Yeah,
blame it on.
it's going to be Mr. T's fault, someone other than them. Okay.
Yeah.
So then they're going to be able to save face, or so they think. Then they're going to use that as the excuse to bring in the digital dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And then we usher in a system of control unlike anything. Now, meanwhile, back at the pump, this is where it gets really interesting. This is my opinion. For those people that have prepped, the preppers, the tinfoil hat people, the people that have all these other instruments to barter with and exchange with and transact with, whether it's cryptos or booze or cigarettes, whatever, we're going to do our own thing outside of that CBDC. And this is where I think that we can create a new America. I believe, and then I've got to show you something, Lisa. We'll get to the Arizona thing because today they just had the prelims for the Senate race. And if you want to pull that up, we can segue into that because that's showing something very interesting. But what I'm saying is for those people after the system comes down that can survive it on their own means, we're going to start to develop a whole economy outside of the CBDCs. And people that are not prepared are going to have to do that. They're just going to have to do it. And with that, they're going to give up their freedoms. They're going to have social scores. All these things are going to happen. Where the rest of us are going to create our own communities. We're going to create, and we're going to elect officials at the local levels that have what we want. Now, this may be a Pollyanna version, but I'm always optimistic. I mean, I am always the glass is half full girl. And I was during the 2020 situation. It did not go the way I wanted, but I had to rise up and keep going. But I was very optimistic throughout that till the night when we understood there was an installation. Mm-hmm. This I want to show you guys. This is really interesting. This just came in today. This is the Arizona who's going to go for the Senate race in August. This is the preliminary winnings of who's going to go to the ballot. Now, we have Mark Kelly, who was the first Democrat senator in Arizona in like 70 years because he took over John McCain's seat. When John McCain died, they put I think Trump put a woman in there. She didn't make it. They elected Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly has done an awful job. I mean, love the Dems or hate the Dems. He's done a horrific job. Arizona is a crown jewel. They want Arizona bad. The bad guys. They're gunning for this state. It's a swing state. It's a resource-rich state. They want Arizona. Just today, this Blake, I can't see that. Masters, is that
Masters?
Right. I don't know anything about him. I'm going to follow him on Twitter. Now, here's the deal, you guys. Two things happened here. Either he won fair and square, and this is who's going on the ballot, and Mark Kelly's out. And this is phenomenal because that means we're going to have a seat in the Senate for the conservatives. I don't know if he's a rhino. Or let's assume that what happened in 2020, I can't really say, was replayed in this election. It means they couldn't do what they did before. It didn't work.
But this says estimated vote 100%. Does that mean that they're believing that 100% of the people voted?
I don't know how
Is
that
that what that
statistic.
means?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Lisa. I don't know that. This just came into my feed like 2 hours
Okay.
before, an hour
Yeah,
before I
I'm
got on the
curious
show.
what this means.
Yeah, I just saw that, and my mind went to, if they tried to do what they did in 2020, I won't use the word, it didn't
Yeah.
work, or that's how close the election was here, and whew, because we have got to start to take control at the local level, because this is what's going to shape the local government now, as we know, is becoming more and more powerful. And I'm telling you guys, I moved from California. You guys know that. There is a colossal difference between a blue state and a red state. Anybody that tells you there isn't doesn't know what they're talking about. When I say colossal, it is two completely different universes. So people that say, "Oh, they're just one and the same, and they're the same party," I call BS on that. Okay, because I lived in a very blue state, I moved to a red state, and now I see the influx of
Yeah, we have
the.
huge things happening here in Oklahoma. Yesterday, Governor Stitt announced that they're trying to get some things passed through legislation, and he's wooing a company because they're getting ready to build the world's largest factory, and there's a really strong chance that they could do it here in Oklahoma.
Okay,
The world's largest factory. That's huge for Oklahoma. That's jobs and
sure,
income and taxes and all that kind of stuff.
right,
Recently we had backed our state treasury by gold.
nice,
He's
nice.
been on the forefront of constitutional EOs through the crisis,
Okay,
protecting Oklahomans. And then now this huge move with this big, and if we're not getting stuff from China anymore, more and more manufacturing is going to be coming back to the US,
oh,
which,
Lisa, the opportunities
I mean,
after this collapse are going to be,
yes,
I mean,
unbelievable.
literally,
Hmm.
the financial landscape of the United States there's going to be a shift. And this is the one thing I wanted to tell you guys. I forgot to mention. I love it when people smarter than I listen to a lot of people that are financially way more savvy, and they all say the same thing. Money doesn't go to money heaven when bad things happen, like you have collapse or deflationary.
Great point. Hmm.
It just shifts from one asset class into another. So what I see happening is, when the collapse comes, it's not an if, it's a when, whether it's this year or next year. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. But here's the deal. It's going to move. Those trillions that are in the bond market, the trillions that are in the stock market, are going to shift, and they're going to go very quickly, and like a wave, it's going to be like a tsunami, into three asset classes, you guys. Three. You know what they are: gold, more importantly, silver,
Silver. Yeah.
metals you can put in there,
Right.
commodities like platinum, palladium, uranium, all that kind of titanium, and cryptocurrencies.
Hmm.
So what we're going to see here is this massive shift of wealth, and people that are only in fiat, they're fiat millionaires now. This is just my conclusion after all of my studying of this for years and years and years. They're going to be left holding the bag with nothing. But they won't have any basis. They won't understand cryptos.
They won't understand why it happened or how
They,
it happened so
yes.
quickly to them. Yeah. The other thing that he mentioned, just in passing, and I think it went over a lot of people's heads, and he said it and got a little smile on his face. You could tell he was
Now, is
trying
this
to.
Jim Willie?
No, this is Governor Stitt
Oh, okay.
in
Okay.
Oklahoma. He said that we were going to be getting hydrogen power plants. And he said the government was giving out or handing out like funds for them, and that we were going to be getting, I think he said 4, I can't remember now, I'll have to go back and rewatch the video, but hydrogen power plants. So they murdered the guy who invented cars that ran on hydrogen.
Right. Yeah. Right. They do that.
What if we have hydrogen power plants and they're mining Bitcoin with hydrogen? We don't need nuclear then.
Right.
We don't,
and
I mean, this is it's just a whole game changer.
Lisa, it's a huge game changer because our needs electrically, especially if we're going to go with electric vehicles, we don't have they're already asking people in in California not to charge their Teslas because they don't have the power grid. Now, can you bring me up the slide with the oil tanker?
I just saw the natural gas price went down too. There was
we have some really energy is going to become, you guys, a
what is it? A tanker?
Yes. The oil from Joe Biden's. That's in the subject line.
Okay.
Oil from Joe. The strategic.
Oh, I see it. Figures
okay.
Oil from
now
Joe.
We're talking about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve here now. Oh, by the way, when Mr. T got into office, it was empty. He filled up the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That was one of the first things he did when he got into office. Now,
and that's the thing that I talk about all the time, where he said, and don't worry, Mexico will pay us back later in another way. Yes. I talk about this all the time. And what is Mexico wealthy with? Silver.
Yes. Right. And he said they will pay for the wall. So, okay. See the picture of at least you want to scroll down. There we go. So basically what has happened is Biden has tapped into the U.S. strategic oil reserves in an attempt to bring down oil prices. But that's supposed to be here in the United States. Now we know that there is at least one ship. The Suez ship Advantage Spring is sailing to Rotterdam, filled with U.S. oil. This ship right here. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that looks like one big ship.
So the U.S. strategic oil reserves are going to Rotterdam, not to help the United States.
Correct.
That should be a treasonous act in itself.
Oh, I agree, Lisa. You're preaching to the choir. I mean, why this man hasn't been impeached by now is...
That just is insane to me.
I get really upset about this stuff, you guys. And
it's heading for Europe.
I will promise you somebody got paid off in this. Somebody got a check. A big check.
That's the other thing with the Ukraine thing. Why is Zelensky only asking for guns and weapons? He's not asking for food or humanitarian relief for his people. He's just asking for weapons and all this. And I'm like, where are those ending up?
Lisa, now I have to be really careful.
I know.
Things are not what they seem.
Mm-hmm.
Things are not what they seem, you guys, with the Russian-Ukraine thing. Think mirror. Think Putin bad guy is what they're saying. Turn it around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here we have this lovely, so for all of your...
sorry, Rotterdam is the Netherlands, Holland, it says. But the article says Europe. Is that not?
I think Holland's part of Europe. It's part of the EU, I think.
Okay, so maybe that's why they justify saying that.
Right. So, I mean, this is a little article here, and, but what really upsets me is that this is our oil.
Mm-hmm.
We need it here. We need it here. So for those of you that have some liberal friends who are very happy with their vote. I guess they want to spend $20 a gallon for gas at the pump. I mean, I guess they're into that. But as time goes by, I do believe, and this is the next thing I want to lead into. As you guys know, Lisa and I's show have been taken down from YouTube. Everyone we know has been kicked off. I mean, in fact, it's kind of a badge of honor, right?
Times,
it's a badge of honor. But little by little, things are getting out, and we cannot stop because the education process is across the charts. Will you pull up the Twitter about Dr. Fauci? This is very interesting. I found this, Lisa, and I thought this was fascinating. It is Twitter and Fauci's daughter. And I fact checked this, so it's true.
Okay.
I saw this. I got to thinking. I've been thinking a lot about this Twitter acquisition with Elon Musk. I have a love-hate relationship with him. He's clearly brilliant. I can't wrap my head around this acquisition thing. Something is not right. So I was doing a little digging, and I found out, not that this has anything to do with Elon Musk, but we'll get to that in a second. Dr. Anthony Fauci's daughter works as a software engineer for Twitter. So the same Twitter that blocks you from talking against Anthony Fauci.
Interesting. Well, so I know that Jack from Dorsey tweeted out and said that the board was the most corrupt part of Twitter. And then he listed like the whole list of them. Of course, I didn't recognize any of the names, but you know, the worst people you never really.
Well, Lisa, I didn't have time in hand with that. I didn't have time to research. This is what I did find when I was researching, because I did find out he's got his youngest daughter. I think she's 27. She's working there. So it's very incestuous. It's very thick, but this is what I found out. There was a Middle Eastern, one of the Saudi princes or something, and he was one of the first one to stand up and say, I guess he owns a large share of Twitter and he sits on the board. He said, nope, we're not accepting this offer. Well, first of all, since when are people outside of America allowed to sit on the board of directors of American companies? That should be illegal to begin with. All right, so we'll take him off the table. Then I found out when I was researching that Vanguard and BlackRock are large shareholders of Twitter. Well, guess what? They own Tesla too.
Oh, really?
So that's when I started researching this. I was like, okay, this is getting really weird, because Vanguard and BlackRock are also blocking the sale, which is going to hold them liable because the shareholders can bring a class action. In fact, they might have already. Yeah, they might have already.
Right.
So I said to myself, okay, this is really weird. They also own part of Tesla. And so I'm like, this is like one big, like something I can't quite, I mean, everybody's all gaga, Elon's going to bring back free speech. He's going to reinstate Mr. T's Twitter account.
But was it just to benefit the shareholders?
I don't know, Lisa.
Was it just to create that situation where
I don't know.
They had the liability then to the shareholders because they have the fiduciary responsibility to at least entertain the offer of the purchase, because
I don't know.
They have to do what's in the best interest of the shareholders.
Well, that's the best question ever. And that's why I've been sitting here and I got digging. Then I found out about Fauci's daughter and blah, 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 blah. But here's the deal. I agree with you. I'm like, something is not adding up here in my mind's eye. And I do know one thing, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to give this to Elon Musk. This man is so brilliant. And he's 30,000 steps out in front of everybody else. But I also know that when he started Tesla, I want to say 2012 or 13 or 14.
He didn't start that.
He didn't start it. It was during the Hussein administration. He was given huge grants from the Hussein administration to float Tesla into existence.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I gotta just say, I'm not all giddy. Everyone on Twitter is, oh, free speech and he should be president. I'm reserving judgment on this. I'm smelling a rat in the woodpile, and I don't know what it is, but I just wanted to throw that into
that company, the fake book one. I mean, you don't really think that Apple computers were started in a garage, do you?
I know.
Come on, people.
Exactly. Or Microsoft was started in a garage.
Right. All of those.
And Facebook was started by some guys at Harvard coding in their room trying to meet girls. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I don't
No.
think
They're
so.
all started by those 3-letter agencies that then find a person that gets to be the face. And that's how that happens. Yes, Daddy-O. And Miss Nancy Iceman knows exactly how that happens.
So that, you guys, is the little tinfoil hat kind of like riddle me this of the week. So that's going to unravel. So that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we did have a victory. And I want you to show, it says photo NTT victory.
Okay.
And I'm going to take a win. This warmed my heart. And I want to tell you a story I heard.
Oh, yeah. This was very sweet.
Isn't this cool? Evidently, this is a picture of a plane in flight. You guys probably have seen it. The pilot came on and said the Supreme Court had just ruled that masks were unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what happened was people started ripping off their masks, and the flight attendant, they go down the aisles and they've got the bags and people are throwing their masks in the bags.
I saw one flight attendant get on and she started crying, like not sobbing, but she like got choked up, and she was like, we're here for your comfort and your safety. And she's like, she got choked up and she's like, I took it off. It's the first time in over 2 years that I got to take this
smile at a customer,
see people's faces. And the detriment that this has caused. There's the children that have been born during this time. There have speech delays. There's there's trauma too. So doing the work that I did with foster care and adoption, there's actually it's called TBR training, or trauma-based trauma-based relational something training. And because of what God designed, which is like breastfeeding, where you talk sweet and you have eye contact and you're about 12 to 18 inches from your baby, and you have physical skin on skin and talking sweet and having loving, warm, sweet time. That's how you bond. Right. And that's how babies learn to speak, by watching your mouth. And so these children are like delayed now in their emotional development, their speech. There's actual like cases and problems with it. And I talked to one of my friends in Miami. He lives in Chicago, and he's like, because he's in that libtard environment, he's like, yeah, but you have to also notice that the cases of like flu and natural, colds and other sickness have gone down. And I said, but that's a bad thing. I said, we need to be giving each other germs that we can get over. There's a thing called herd immunity for a reason. Right. Like, it's good for us to share some germs and build herd immunity.
Oh, absolutely.
So we can walk outside without melting like a snowflake.
That's why all the people that took the medication, they're the ones that are in the hospital now so sick, because their immune system is now highly compromised.
I know.
Speaking, Lisa, of
we won't get into any of that, but yes, this was a great win for the Constitution and for Americans, and I hope that Canadians are soon to follow, and the rest of the world.
And today, the Department of Transportation came out,
and yesterday was Patriots Day. So it is it's no mistake that this happened on Patriots Day, because it officially happened yesterday.
And the Department of Transportation came out today and they said they're not going to contest it. And American Airlines and United said yesterday that they're going to contest it. In other words, American and United said that they're going to fight it. I don't know how that's going to go out. I don't know what the status is. Yeah, they came out and said that.
Stupid.
But the Department of Transportation, which governs the airports, and they handle, I guess, all of that, they said, we're not going to contest it. And then the White House came out today and said, we are not going to contest the ruling from the Supreme Court. So they backed off.
Well, that's the smartest thing they've said in a year.
Well, yeah, exactly. Lisa, I have a picture I saw that made me laugh.
Yeah.
Pull up Apple and man pregnancy.
Oh, God.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but on the new Apple, oh my God, if you have an Apple phone, this is the new emoji that you can pull up. It comes with all the iPhones now, I guess.
Amy, when we were in Vegas, when was that? It was right when, and I can't see this email. I don't know why I can't see it. Was it one of the last ones you sent, or was it earlier?
No, it was in the middle. Apple. Do you want me to resend it? I'll forward it. I'll just send it to you.
Because I can't.
Oh, it's got hilarious. You guys have got to see this if you haven't already seen it. It's a Zero Hedge article, but there's a picture of the emoji in the article, and it says, I put in the subject line Apple and man pregnancy. And when you get an Apple phone, or I don't know if they do automatic updates, but it comes with this is, you guys, how upside down.
Lord help us all.
Have you seen that, Lisa?
No, I haven't.
You haven't seen it?
I'd heard about it, but I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
So they had these mannequins that look like this, and they were calling them dad bods back when you and I went to, remember when the vid first hit and we went to Vegas and we stayed at the Trump Tower.
Mm-hmm.
And we went shopping, and I was like, "This is so creepy. Look how like no one's here." And then the Louis Vuitton store was closed, or Neiman Marcus was closed, and all that. And they had these dad bod mannequins. And then I heard about this, and I was like, "Oh, it's just the dad bod emoji." But then a friend of mine was like, "No, they literally have like the hand on the top and the bottom, like when you're pregnant, you take all the pictures with your hand on the top and the bottom."
Right.
What is wrong with people?
I actually remember that.
Yeah.
This to me, and I know we can't talk about the little people and all that whole sicko thing going on. We are limited as to what we can say here. Yeah. But this is all part of this delusion that has to stop. I mean, our poor children. I mean, I think, I don't want to get into the whole, gay thing. What two consenting adults do behind closed doors is their own business. It's none of my business. Mm-hmm. But when you start, a man cannot birth a baby. It was not God's plan. When you start sending messages to the world that this can happen, that's fake, phony, and false. It's delusional. Can you adopt a child? Sure. You can do that.
Please do.
But when you look at, like, if I had an Apple product, I would get rid of it the minute I got some. I mean, this would be, I don't have anything, but I couldn't support that company. I couldn't be part of that, because where it starts there, where else does it end? I mean, when do you start seeing things where they normalize doing things to the little people that shouldn't be done?
That's just really weird. Yeah. Very weird.
So what is this, Lisa?
So somebody posted this, and it says, "Serious question. How does a bus catch fire like this?" And I don't know how. There's another picture on here that I was going to try to post that They may have taken it down.
Do they take down your stuff on Twitter?
Oh gosh, yeah. I am going to be in Utah this weekend on Friday at the Bitcoin Tech Summit with Ben. He's swinging by to pick me up Wednesday evening sometime, and we'll be driving all day Thursday to get there, so we can be there all day Friday at the event. So if you guys are in Utah, please try to get to the summit. We'll be there all day from 8 to 4:30 at the university, Utah Valley University, at that event. So I'm trying to see if I think they took down the picture. I think it's gone. Yeah.
So Lisa, I want to ask your
I was
audience.
happy about this. I think we should take up more Nigerian laws here in the U.S.
Oh, okay. That's what I want to ask your, I want to end with this. I want to ask your audience if they second this. I think it's phenomenal. And this is from Nigeria. And rapists will be surgically castrated, and anyone who rapes a little person will face the death penalty under new laws in the Nigerian state. And I want to know from you guys, what do you all think about that? Do you think it's too harsh, too extreme? I think we need to enact that immediately. That's my opinion. But I'd be curious as to what you guys think. Like, do you think this is okay? Do you think it's radical? What are your thoughts? I'm curious, because I saw that and I thought, you know what? Enough is enough. Enough is enough with all of this.
Oh, and here was Ilhan Omar got offended that people were praying on Easter in the airplane.
Yeah, well, you know, that might be her problem.
She's a real piece of work. Yeah, they took down the picture. There's a picture of Joey with a little girl. And then my friend said that it's from the laptop. And
so I like this, Lisa. Your people are, I like it. Thank you guys for answering. I'm looking here in the chat, and everybody's on board with this Nigerian thing. Nice. Okay. I like it. Some of these comments are pretty funny. Second the motion to castrate, Busy Mountain says. All right, good. I just thought maybe I was, kind of going off down some rabbit hole somewhere.
Yeah. One more thing I want to mention today is the 27th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. And I'm in Oklahoma. And this is actually this weekend, they're doing the memorial run, which is the 22nd memorial run. And this weekend is April 22nd. So I hope everybody has a safe day and a safe run. That was, I'll never forget that day either. I was, miles and miles away, but the windows of the building I was in, like, bowed like this, like the glass just like waves. They were panes of glass on the front of the building, and it just, from the concussion of the bomb that went off. It was, incredible. And I have friends that were downtown that still to this day, like, won't talk about it at all,
Right.
And then they, found Timothy McVeigh on the highway a little bit later. So we'll never know the truth of that. And the children that were in, there's a YMCA on the top floor that were in that building as well. Pretty awful. So that was the other reason that I was thinking that something might happen today, because, the cabal people love to use certain dates for
Right.
ritual stuff.
Sure.
So I was like, oh gosh, are we going to have, when I saw Jack, however you say his last name, tweeting that black bird, I was like, oh no, is that the black swan coming tomorrow? Because that's the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing.
Right.
So, oh, see, Lakeside Laura says, today's my birthday. Happy birthday, Laura. But she says there's a lot of bad things that have happened on her birthday because it is that one of those cabal anniversary days. So,
Right. Right.
So everybody stay safe. Very interesting.
And listen, guys, now you can get on airplanes without a mask. So that's really good.
That is some good news.
And so, Lisa, you won't be able to post your pictures on Twitter when you travel.
Your mom
Your mask
mad.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't take it. Once again, this last time I was coming back from Miami and they tried to keep my passport. Because I TSA pre-check, and so I showed her my ticket on my phone, or my boarding pass, and then I handed her my passport, and she like took my passport, and then she set it aside, and then she was supposed to hand me like a little card or something that then I was supposed to give to the next person so that I could go through the TSA line and not have to go through the pod and take my shoes off and do all that stuff.
Right.
Well, by the time I got all the way over there, they're like, he goes, take your shoes off. And I was like, no, I'm pre-check. And he goes, well, you don't have a card. And I said, oh, she must have forgotten. So I went back and showed her, and she goes, the computer didn't pull it up. And I said, well, can you rescan it? And she's like, nope. Well, first she wouldn't give me my passport back, and I was like, I need my passport. She goes, you have it in your hand, and I was like, that's my phone, that's my boarding pass. You have my passport. You set it over there. And so then she finally gives me my passport back. Thankfully, there was some guy that was watching. They were like whispering to each other, and he stayed with me the whole time. And then finally, I go through there. They made me go through the thing 2 or 3 times, and then I get through the thing. Then they start feeling me up in front of everyone. I'm like, good Lord. And then I get my bag back, and they took my hat and put my shoes on top of my hat and put my bag on top of that to crush my hat. And he's like,
Lisa,
are you all right? And I was like almost in tears. I was like, yes, I'm fine. I was like, they do this to me every time. If I don't travel with my husband, they harass me every time.
Right.
I'm just like, I don't know what it is. I hate it. I hate flying.
Well, hopefully this will start to get their minds right, because there's been such an abuse. And I think now we are starting to take back our rights. It's happening slow, but it's happening.
TSA is specifically like out of the, it's a group out of the Homeland Security or whatever.
Right. It's part of Homeland. Right.
Yes. It's out of like one of those 3-letter agency things. Like they're not on your side,
Right.
So I'm sure I'm on the list, Rod. I'm sure I have a little check mark by my name. They don't like me. So yeah, I just need to drive. It just is miserable otherwise, because I feel like I'm so targeted.
Well, anyway, guys, thanks for coming. Please share the video.
Yes. Get the information out there. Make sure people can, we're telling them now. They can't say we didn't try to warn them.
Right. And keep your eye on
have other options.
Keep your eye on that 10-year yield, because that's your barometer.
Yeah,
when that thing starts to spike fast, that's when we have a limited time. The system's starting to break, basically, at that point.
And what did we say? It was
It's at like 2.94 now.
2.9 something.
Yeah, 2.94 now, which is high, but it's not. I think it's going to go over 3 in the next week or two. That's fine. It's the speed at which it
My
goes up.
gosh, when you look at the chart of it.
Yeah, look at the chart. Right. That's what I'm saying. It's moved up rapidly, and if it starts to spike quickly, that's when, I mean, everyone's going to have to deal with what they think they need to do, but that's when you want to do your top ups, make sure you've got gas in your cars, extra food, extra water, get some dollars, get some cash, all of that.
This is since March. I moved the little yellow thing since March.
Right.
And it is like,
I know, Lisa. I know.
Really crazy.
It's kind of looking like it's going, I don't want to use the word parabolic because it's not really parabolic, but it's
in comparison to the rest of a year ago, I mean,
right.
It looks
I know.
Significant.
I know. That's the debt market right there. That's your debt market.
Wow. Okay, guys. Thanks for the warning, Amy. That's great news. And 3 is a tipping point. Why?
Well, it's going to go over 3. I'm here to tell you right now.
Okay.
So don't be shocked. But after 3, if it starts to jump to 3.25, 3.4, 3, 3 3/4, if that starts to go fast, that's when, like if you were on an airplane, the pilot would be dropping the oxygen masks and saying, brace for impact. That's what. Now, if it just hangs out at 3, it's not good for the stock market. It's going to cause all kinds of disruptions. But it's because the system is starting, the debt market is starting to show cracks in the system. So it's an indicator, you guys. It's not a market crash indicator. It's like a risk indicator.
Okay.
So it's the only thing that I can think of to give you guys as something, because we're all wanting to know the timing.
It's
like
that canary in the mine.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And you cannot rely on the powers that be to give us any kind of truth, whether it's about the raising of interest rates coming out of the mouth of the Federal Reserve, all of that. It's all lies. Every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know, there's no one to believe anymore, you guys. These are numbers. The math never lies.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Amy. And you guys, I look forward to seeing you in Utah. So we'll see you there, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the new normal. I will still be here. I should still be here. I think I'll be here. I don't know. We'll see what time Ben picks me up. He's not being very committal right now. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear. Maybe we'll do a little early show if I can get public to jump on early. Maybe I'll go from the road. I don't know. We'll wing it. All right, you guys, take care. Bye, Amy.
Bye.